Hi, my name is Jordan and I really love books. Let's talk about Wicked, specifically Elphaba's childhood. I wasn't surprised, but I was a little bit irritated about how they just completely skipped over Elphaba's childhood in the movie. Now, I never got to see the musical, so I do not know if they did a better job in the musical, but somehow I doubt it. In the movie, they make it seem like Elphaba is just like a normal kid, but green, right? So she's a witch, obviously, which is a little strange, but she's basically just normal, but green. In the book, she's a full-blown monster. She's born in a field by like 3 midwives, all right? Because the husband has been off because he's actually a preacher, and he was preaching about how awful this thing called the time dragon is. He was talking about how whenever people worship something that isn't the Almighty, that isn't just the God, such as the time dragon, that something horrible is going to happen and like the world is going to end, basically. His daughter was born the same day that he was preaching about this. The people he was preaching to were so angry about his sermon and were so sure that he was the one who was going to bring the evil that they tried to like murk him. So he had to go on the run. Same time he went on the run, they had to like take his wife who was pregnant and who was delivering the child on the run as well. He was not there for the birth of his child. The midwives debated just like leaving her there and saving themselves, but they're like, no, that'd make us bad people. And so they delivered the baby. The baby came out green. And whenever they were looking at the baby, they were like checking it. It looked totally normal, except for the greenness. But one of them just stuck their finger in the mouth to like give her something to chew on. And Elphaba, as her first act in the world, bit this woman's finger clean off. Then she spit it out and drank the woman's blood. Then this child was so averse to water that they were going to try and wash her off, obviously, because, you know, she's covered in goo. And she would not allow them to go anywhere near her with the cloth that had water on it. She came into the world knowing she could not be around water. And so they had to use like milk in order to clean her. And that continued through the whole book. Another important point about her parents is that both of her parents were normal-sized people. They were pictured as Munchkinlanders in this, but they weren't. The mother was from the outer city, and the father was a Munchkinlander, but they specifically talk in the book about how he was like a tall person. He was a regular-sized person because they had married into height. The next important character that was co-opted is Nanny. Nanny is shown for like a little bit in the movie as like a bear that was like her nursemaid, but Nanny was not a bear. Nanny was a woman. Nanny was specifically, I'm 90% sure, Melina's mom, okay? Nanny was the one that made sure that Elphaba survived. She came into the scene about 2-3 weeks after the baby had been born, and she was like, have you guys even held her? Because they were scared. They were literally scared of Elphaba. Because Elphaba, again, was scary. Like, she had pointed teeth. Like, she could not be breastfed because she would have ripped the woman's nipple off. Like, she was scary. But Nanny goes in there and she's like, she's still a baby. She's still a child. And so we need to pretend that we like her. You gotta fake it till you make it. And so Nanny was the first person to show her any sort of love, even if it was fake or forced. She, like, got her. She, like, held her. She talked to her. And she treated her like a person. As I mentioned earlier, Frex is not the governor of Munchkinland, far from it. He is a priest, he's a preacher, and he goes around and he gives sermons to people. Like, he's trying to, like, get them back to viewing the one true power and all that good stuff, all right? So, nobody likes him, but he also goes on these voyages, like these, I can't even remember what they'd be called, but he goes off to go spread the word to all of the people, and he will leave for like 10 days at a time. In the movie, they were like, oh, you're gonna be gone for a day. I hope you don't miss me. No, he's gone for weeks. Weeks. He just leaves his wife and his brand new baby and just goes off for who knows why, right? For his own ego. Because of this, Melina is drinking constantly, or she's getting she's imbibing something, right? Some kind of drug, some kind of alcohol, some kind of drink. And like not taking care of her child very well, which fair. But she's also having all kinds of dalliances. In fact, we find out when Nanny asks that we don't even know if Frax, and she doesn't even know if Frax is actually the father of the child. Because she has had relationships with all kinds of other creatures. In fact, not even just like other Munchkinlanders or other people, like other tall people, but like other creatures, like elves. Which leads us to our long-term affair partner, who is completely missing from the movie, and his name is Turtleheart. Turtleheart is a fairly problematic character. I can see why they didn't really want to include him in the movie, but he does play a pretty important part, and it does add like kind of a dimension into this that is missing in the film. Because so far in the film, we're seeing it as, oh, all of the people are pretty much equal, but the animals are the ones who are like the lower class. But that's really not the case in this land. Like, the Munchkinlanders are beneath the taller people, and the Quadlings, which is what he's described are beneath the Munchkinlanders. Not to mention the elves and the other creatures that are like even lower than them. Turtleheart is originally just passing through on his way to the Emerald City, as we find out toward the end of Elphaba's childhood. But he strikes up an affair and starts to live alongside the wife with Melina. Elphaba really likes him, even from the beginning, because he's the only one who treats her as like an actual person other than Nanny. We find out that Turtleheart is on the way to Emerald City because he wants to go on behalf of the Quadlings in order to protest the building of the Yellow Brick Road, because that infrastructure is going to disrupt all of the things that they have going on. The Quadlings live very in tune with the lands, and they go with the delicate balance of the ecosystem. And they know that if they go in there and they like start messing everything up and building this road, that they're not going to be able to survive. They're going to be pushed out of their homelands. There's a very clear connection between the Quadlings in this book and the Native Americans or the indigenous peoples in the real world, which is why I said that this character is problematic. But on the other side of that, I will say that this character is not displayed as a villain, and this character is displayed as knowing things and understanding nature in a way that the other people in this do not. We see other characters talking badly about this character, but then we see Melina defending him, and we see this character being stoic and being knowledgeable and being firm and being like a real person, which I think could be viewed as a good thing. His role is also very important because it lets us know that there are other issues happening in this world. Like, it creates more of a connection to the real world than exists when these people are ignored. Elphaba's nanny takes her to be socialized with the other children, and it looks as if like there isn't actually any bullying that happens with those children. They view her as weird. They view Elphaba as weird, but they just try and play tag with her. Like, they try and interact with her, and she just doesn't know how to interact, and that's why like Nanny insists on bringing her there. Once Elphaba reaches 2 years old, this is when we find out about Turtleheart's background, and as he tells us this story, his words are the horrors, and notably, Elphaba's first words are horrors. The horrors. She says it over and over again. Turtleheart has created a ruby-colored orb that allows him to see the future, and Elphaba steals it at one point in, like, at the end of her childhood, and goes and hides under a bridge near the lake, and is looking into the glass, and she sees Oz coming. Turtleheart predicts that Oz has arrived. He sees it in his orb, and like that's kind of like how we even know that this is about to be an event that happens. Another big note is that the reason that they want to put the Yellow Brick Road through Quadling Country is not to unite the people, but because in Quadling Country they have found a mine of rubies that they can use in order to create powerful objects. All of these events are kind of key in order to really fully understand the story, and they're also really important in the development of Elphaba's character later on, so I am disappointed that they didn't include them in the film. What do you guys think?